'Twas the Night Before Christmas, read to you in the adaptations of The Christmas Spirit and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Let's begin!
"'Twas the night before Christmas, when all throughout the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
Whereas on or about the night prior to Christmas, there did occur a certain improved piece of real property, hereinafter, quote-unquote, the house, a general lack of stirring by all creatures therein, including, but not limited to, a mouse.
The stockings were hung by chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas will soon be there.
A variety of foot apparel, e.g. stockings, socks, etc., et al., had been temporarily affixed by and around the chimney in said house with the appropriate care, in the hope and/or belief that St. Nicholas, aka St. Nick, aka Santa Claus, hereinafter Claus, would arrive sometime thereafter.
The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
The minor resident, i.e. the children, of the aforementioned house were located in or around their individual sleeping locations, or bed, and were nestled and engaged in nocturnal hallucinations, i.e. dreams, wherein visions of confectionery treats, including, but not limited to, candies, nuts, and or sugar plums, without meeting the FDA labeling requirements, did dance, cavort, and otherwise appear in said dream.
And Mama in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had settled down for a long winter's nap.
Whereupon the party of the first part, sometimes hereinafter referred to as I in quotation marks being the joint owner or tenant in common in fee simple absolute of the house, with the party of the second part, hereinafter, quote-unquote, Mama, and said Mama had retired for a sustained period of time. At such time, the parties of both parts were clad in various forms of headgear, e.g. kerchiefs and caps, for a long seasonal winter, quote-unquote, nap.
When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter.
Suddenly and without prior notice or warning, there did occur upon the unproved real property adjacent and appurtenant to the said house, i.e. the lawn, a certain disruption of unknown nature, cause, and or circumstance. Quote-unquote, clatter.
Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash.
The party of the first part, I, quote-unquote, did immediately arise and rush in fenestration window in the house to investigate the cause of such disturbance. In the process, the party of the first part, I, quote-unquote, mistakenly tore open the shutters and threw upon the sash.
The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to two objects below.
The party of the first part noticed the moon in full phase on the topmost part of the new fallen snow. The party of the first part was informed and believed, and based upon such information and belief alleged to the said moon, gave the luster of a midday, otherwise known as noon, to objects below.
When, what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer.
At the time, the party of the first part, I, quote-unquote, did observe with some degree and wonder / or disbelief a miniature sleigh, hereinafter the vehicle, quote-unquote, being pulled and or drawn very rapidly through the air by approximately 8 reindeer.
With a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick.
The driver of the vehicle appeared to be, and in fact was, the previous referred Claus.
More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, he whistled and shouted and called them by name.
Said Claus was providing specific directions, instructions, and guidance to approximately 8 reindeer, and specifically initiated the animals' co-conspirators by name.
Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer, and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, and Blitzen.
Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, and Blitzen, hereinafter the quote-unquote deer. Upon the information belief, it is the furthest asserted that an additional co-conspirator named Rudolph may have been involved.
To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away all. as dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly when they meet with an obstacle mount to the sky.
The party of the first part witnessed the claws, the vehicle, and the deer intentionally and willfully trespassing upon the tops of the porches, walls, and/or roofs of several residences located adjacent to and in the vicinity of the house.
So up to the housetop, the Corsairs they fled, with the sleigh full of toys and St. Nicholas too.
And noted that the vehicle was heavily laden with packages, toys, and other items of unknown origin or nature.
And then in the twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof.
Suddenly, without prior invitation or permission, either express or implied, the vehicle arrived at the house.
As I drew up my hand and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound.
And Claus entered said house via the chimney.
He was dressed in all fur from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot.
Said Claus was clad in red fur suit and white fur, which was partially covered by a residue from the chimney.
A bundle of toys he flew on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack.
He carried a large sack containing a portion of the aforementioned packages, toys, and other unknown items.
His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry, his cheeks were like roses, and his nose like a cherry.
The party of the first part observed that Claus's eyes would not have passed a field sobriety test, and that they twinkled. Moreover, Claus's facial expressions, i.e. dimples, appeared overly joyful, a further evidence of his state of being. Claus's cheeks were very red, almost like roses. His nose was likewise red, like a cherry.
His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as snow.
Claus's mouth could not have been said to look like a bow, and extended his hair growth under his chin could likewise be said to be as white as snow.
The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath.
He was smoking what appeared to be tobacco in a small pipe, and blowing circles that resembled wreaths, in blatant violation of local ordinance and health regulations.
He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly.
Although Claus did not speak, he did laugh, which caused his rotund stomach area to move about in a manner similar to, but not quite like, a bowl full of jelly.
He was chubby and plump and bright, jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk.
Claus thereafter immediately began to file the stocking of minor children's, which hung adjacent to the chimney with toys and other small gifts. Said items did not, however, constitute quote-unquote gift to said minor pursuance and the applicable provisions of the U.S. tax code.
And laying his finger aside of his nose and giving a nod up the chimney, he rose.
Upon completion of his task, Claus touched the side of his nose and flew, rose, and/or ascended up the chimney of the house to the roof where the vehicle and deer waited and/or served as lookouts.
He sprang to his sleigh, and to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle.
Claus immediately departed for an unknown destination.
But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all good night."
However, prior to the departure of the vehicle, deer, and Claus from said house, the party of the first part did not hear Claus state and/or exclaim Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
You're fucking suing Santa.
Like, I just realized that after as it keeps going on, it's just